Hey everybody, this is James Wall with Wall to Wall Martial Arts in Watson, Louisiana. Wanted to do a video real quick to take a little more time going over and explaining some of the material in the presentation that my wife Patty and I presented at JudoCon in Kansas City a couple of months back, along with Sensei Lester Martell from High Impact Martial Arts. Due to time constraints, we really had to fly through that presentation. Had to really just briefly touch on things. Wasn't able to really go through them in any great detail, and I had to leave a lot of stuff out. And so I've had a lot of people reach out to me since then with various questions or concerns or things that they wanted to find out more about. So I thought maybe I would do a quick video, just kind of step back through the presentation. I won't linger on things I know that we covered a lot at JudoCon. I'll just touch them real briefly, but I'll try to go a little more in depth with some of the other aspects or some of the other bits of content that we didn't necessarily get to cover as much as I would like to have covered. So I'll skip over a lot of this about my school. I do want to point out, like I did at JudoCon, this is our current breakdown of students. 203 is our total student count, and it kind of breaks down like this. 44% of those people are in our junior judo program, about 26% in our teen adult judo, 18% in our BJJ program, and then about 12% are in other programs. For us, that would be boxing and ladies fitness and Iaido, or Japanese sword. So this is our current class schedule. We actually offer our junior judo program 4 nights a week. Now, kids only come twice a week, but we have it available 4 times a week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We have a class at 5 o'clock and at 6 o'clock. And then we have judo for adults and teens on Monday, Wednesday at 7, and BJJ Tuesday, Thursday. And you can see some of the other classes that we also have going as well. So we have a pretty full schedule. This is just some statistics from my area. We are not in what I would consider a large metropolitan area, and certainly not in a super high income area. Not a poor area by any standard, but just a good working class, middle class, blue collar type of area. There are 3 other martial arts schools within about 5 miles of me. When we first opened up, there were 3. They've since closed down. One new one has opened up since then. So we have 1 martial arts school within 5 miles of us currently, and several fitness-based schools. We also have a very active community school-based sports programs like soccer, football, wrestling, things like that. And definitely understand you are competing with those programs. You're not really just competing against other martial arts schools. You're competing against football, against soccer, cheerleading, gymnastics, dance, wrestling. All of those things, those are your competition, and not just other martial arts schools. A lot of times I think people tend to fixate on the other martial arts schools in their area. A lot of times they're really not who you're losing most of you people to. It's usually the other activities. We talked about this a lot, and I know this is a subject that comes up quite often, so I'm not going to belabor the point, but basically judo in the U.S. is in a lot of trouble. The numbers are extremely low. Most of the statistics I see put it around 20,000, but honestly, I personally think it's a lot less than that as far as actual active judo people in the U.S. I personally think the reason for that is that the national organizations and leadership over the last couple of decades have really failed to embrace, modern teaching and more importantly, even modern business practices. The general opinion that is really pushed to a lot of people, I know it's what I was always told over the years, and I still hear it being preached everywhere I go today, is that it's not possible to make a profit and still teach good judo. All I've ever heard is you can't make a living teaching judo. You can't make a living teaching judo. And that is just complete and utter nonsense. You absolutely can. You can still offer good, high-quality martial arts training, good judo, but you can make a living doing it. But you gotta be open-minded, and you have to be willing to do some research and some learning, and you gotta be willing to adopt some modern ways of running your school and run it more like a business and less like a club. Again, I couldn't disagree more with what they say. We have an amazing judo program at our school. I make a good living teaching judo. We don't sell rank. We don't put black belts on kids. We have a good real judo program that we run. And again, I teach judo full time. That's what I do for a living. How did I do it? How did I get to that point? I didn't start out there. I've only been doing it full time for about the last 5 years. It took me a long time to reach that point. Here are some of the things I had to do, except that my sensei didn't know it all. I had to accept that a successful judo business has very little to do with competition. This is tough for a lot of judo people. Competition is such a big part of judo and of the culture and of the mindset, but it's really not about competition if you want to run a successful school. You need to find a mentor. The mentor that I found was not my instructor. He wasn't even a judo instructor, but he was a black belt who ran a very successful martial arts school. In this case, it was karate, Japanese karate, and he was willing to share with me a lot of the insights and things that he had learned over the years, and I was able to take those, study them, modify some things here and there, and put them into place along with some other modern business practices and systems. And I was able to start really growing my program. I had to adjust my curriculum and my teaching methods to maximize what I refer to as the 3 R's, which are in this case recruiting, retention, and revenue. And those are very, very important. Everything you do in your school should be built around those 3 things. So we talk about modern business practices. What does that mean? Well, some aspects of that would be to charge more. You need to understand the concept in sales known as perceived value. Basically, perceived value means that people think that because something is more expensive that it must be a superior or better product. So if you think you have an advantage in your market because you are the lowest priced martial arts school in your area, you're probably wrong. People, not everybody of course, but a lot of people probably see your price and then they see the BJJ school a mile up the road who's charging twice as much. A lot of people are going to automatically assume that the other place must be twice as good, or at least must be much better than you because it's twice as expensive to go there. Whether we like this or not, whether we agree or not, it's a fact. It happens. It is reality. We need to, in judo, I think we have a big issue with underselling ourselves, with undervaluing the product that we have. Almost every judoka that I talk to loves judo, has a passion for judo, thinks judo is a great martial art, but then we turn around and we give it away for little or nothing. And I think that's a big mistake, and I think it's really hurt us a lot. You need to use membership agreements. So some people say contracts, we call them membership agreements. These are not evil. You need to understand that a membership agreement, it's just a tool. It is a tool just like anything else, like an automobile, like a hammer, like a gun. They can be used for good or they can be used for bad. It's ultimately up to you. But just having a membership agreement and requiring people to commit for 6 months or 12 months, there's nothing wrong with doing that. How you go about enforcing that, how you handle that in each individual situation, that is completely up to you. We require a 12-month membership agreement for all new students, but we've never taken anyone to court if they broke the agreement. If someone has a family hardship or they're moving out of the state, because of a job or a divorce or a death in the family or, different major life changes, we always let them out of their membership agreement. We don't use these agreements to try to hurt people, but we do want to make it not so easy for people to just stop coming, because they will just stop coming. As soon as the initial newness of it wears off, particularly with children, they're going to want to quit. And so a lot of times, one of your missions, one of your jobs is to keep them from doing that. And one of the tools you can use is a membership agreement. Another tool you need to be using is what's known as EFTs, electronic fund transfers. So basically, this means that you collect either credit card or checking account information from these people as part of their membership agreement, and every month at a preset day and time or preset day, you charge them their monthly tuition. This needs to happen automatically. You do not want to be a bill collector. That is not what you're there to do. And if you're having to bug people and chase people for their tuition, it's putting a negative connotation or negative emotion in that relationship. They need to think of you as their sensei, as their coach, as their instructor, not as their bill collector. And plus, if you want to grow a program, you don't want to be spending your time having to chase people down. We've got, like I mentioned earlier, over 200 students in our school. We cannot sit there and wait for people to remember to pay us. We have a lease to pay, utility bills to pay, insurance to pay, salaries to pay. So we need to know when our money is going to be in the bank. and that needs to happen automatically. We use a company called APS, Automated Payment Systems, but there are a lot of other companies out there. Just remember, shop around a bit. You can get some really good rates if you're willing to shop and haggle just a little bit. Don't just jump at the first opportunity you see. You might even check with the bank you use for your local, there in your local area for your business. A lot of times they can set up EFTs for you. So. Charge promotion fees, and this ties in to the next one, which is to track promotions and promote your students in a timely fashion. And those things tie into your curriculum, and that ties into your retention. People need to help setting goals. They need help setting short-term goals and long-term goals. For kids and teenagers, even for young adults, that is one of the most important lessons I think that we can help them learn, is the importance of setting goals. People also want to know that you have a plan to get them, where they want to go. And so if you have a pre-designed and preset promotion system with realistic expectations in place so people know what's expected of them to get promoted, it's going to help your program grow. Now, that does not mean promotions are guaranteed just because you come to enough classes. That's not what it's about. But you need to at least have some written requirements, and it needs to be clear to people that you have a plan for their success. You have a plan to get them from where they are now to where they want to be. So let's talk about curriculum a little bit. Some considerations when it comes to a curriculum for kids. It really should not be 100% competition focused. If you go that route, you're probably going to have a small program. There are a few very large, successful competition programs for kids in the U.S., but only a few. And most of them are not ran as full-time businesses. Most of our junior students at our school, they are there for discipline, confidence, respect, fitness, and fun. They're not there because their mom or dad wants them to be a national champion. I've never had a parent sign their child up because they want them to be an Olympian. So why are most of our judo coaches training the kids in their junior program as if the kids want to be Olympians? That's really not what they're there for. We have a form that we use when parents sign up their kids, and any student really that signs up, that asks them, why are they looking for martial arts training? And we always get things from parents for kids like, my child is being bullied at school. I want my child to learn more discipline. My child lacks confidence. My child is overweight and needs to get in better shape. My child is homeschooled, and so I need an outlet for him or her to have fun and to have interaction with other kids, things like that. We never see anything about winning gold medals and going to the Olympics and being a world champion. That's just not reality. Your curriculum should include a systematic character development program, and it should be tied to your promotions. In our school, we use something called a word of the month. So every month we talk about a different word, like confidence or respect or different things of that nature. And then when it's time for promotions, we send home a permission to promote form that has to be signed off by the parents and by the teachers at school. And so if anybody has an issue with this child's behavior, or their grades are not good or something like that, then we hold their promotion. And it's a very powerful motivator, and we see it quite often make a big difference with kids. Your program for kids, it has to be fun. Don't be afraid to mix in other things to keep it fresh and make it a little more different. You can do striking. Just because you're a judo school doesn't mean you can't do striking from time to time. You can have no-gi nights. You can have spirit or game nights. Lots of different things you can do just to break that monotony. Kids get bored easily. You want to teach them good judo, and a certain amount of repetition is necessary for that, but it doesn't mean it has to be boring. It can be fun. You should consider a rotating curriculum with regular, consistent promotions, like I mentioned earlier. We utilize a rotating curriculum at my school in all of our programs, and it's not perfect. No curriculum is, but it has a lot of advantages, particularly working with kids. There's a video on our JBBA Coach Education YouTube channel where I talk a lot about rotating curriculums and what the difference is between a rotating curriculum and a linear curriculum. And so if you have any questions, please check out that video, and you can also contact me. I'm going to put my contact information here when I post this on our YouTube site or our Facebook site. You can reach out to me, and I'm happy to try to answer any questions you might have about rotating curriculum. Your classes for kids don't need to be as long as your classes for adults. We do 40 minutes. Sometimes that goes over by 3, 4, 5 minutes. So 40 to 45 minutes. I think for kids, the absolute maximum should be a 1 hour class. There's really no reason at all to have a kids class go more than an hour. If you're trying to produce competitors, then have another class or another meeting time where your competition-oriented kids come in and they get extra work preparing for competition. But you get out there doing an hour and a half, 2 hour kids class, and you're going to burn kids out and they're going to quit. You're going to have a real hard time building a program, because every 6 months to a year you're going to have a whole brand new group of kids because all the others have quit. This is our judo rank structure for kids. 17 ranks, takes 6 years to go through it if they start from the beginning and work their way all the way up to the maximum level. You can see the time and grade required and the promotion fees, the number of classes and so forth that we require. I'm not saying you have to copy this. I'm not saying you have to use this exactly. This is what we do, and it works well for us. For teens and adults, a lot of the considerations are the same. Make it fun. It's about fitness and self-defense and stress relief for most adults. Keep your classes no more than an hour. Again, if you want to have a competitive team or an all-star team or competition team, then they can have separate practices where they come in and work longer, harder to get ready for competition. Most of your teens and adults, it's not what they're looking for. Again, it's important to track their promotions and promote them in a timely manner. Your adults are going to say they don't care about rank, they don't care about the next belt, but in reality, they do. All of us want to succeed. We all want to make it to the next level in whatever it is, whether it's our job or whatever it is, our martial art. So I'm not saying that that's the most important thing to every single one of them, but it is important to them. And if they don't believe that you have a plan and a way to get them to where they want to go, they're going to lose confidence in you, and they're going to start looking for somewhere else to train. Again, same as with kids, don't be afraid to mix in new and different things like no-gi nights or striking nights or self-defense nights, things just to mix it up a little bit so the adults and teenagers, they don't get bored. Our senior rank system is here. 8 ranks, about 5 to 6 years to go from white belt to black belt, first degree black belt in our system. You can see the promotion fees that we charge and so forth right there. Again, if you have questions about any of those things, feel free to reach out to me and I'll be happy to help as much as I can. Curriculum considerations for all students, and this is what I was talking about earlier. You must have a plan for the success of your students. What are their short-term goals? What are their long-term goals? How are you going to help them get to those goals? You got to remember their goals are not necessarily the same as your goals. And I think that as judo instructors, we really fall into that trap a lot. We assume subconsciously, I think, that everybody who comes in and signs up for judo has the same goals and aspirations in judo that we did when we started out or that we do now. That's just not the case. It's not. And so you need to really not, overlay your goals and your drive and your reason for doing martial arts, for doing judo. Don't overlay that onto your students and assume that it's the same for them. That's a big mistake. If your students don't have faith in your ability to lead them to their goals, why would they stay with you? Okay. We talked about the 3 R's just real briefly earlier. When you plan your events, when you plan your curriculum, you should always think about the 3 R's and ask yourself, will this event or curriculum change increase my revenue, improve my retention, or will it help me recruit new students? A good event should do as many of those as possible, and your business system should also incorporate this approach. Examples of the 3 R's, a new student survey on the release packet. And we're going to have a copy of the release packet that we use at our school is going to be available for download on the Facebook page and also from a website I'm going to post for you guys. This student survey for new students is really useful for recruiting. Welcome letter with VIP passes. This helps a lot with recruiting. Dojo Dollars, that's great for recruiting and retention. Dojo Dollars means that if they refer a person to our program and that person signs up, they get a gift certificate for $25. They can use it for t-shirts or patches or uniforms. They can't use it for tuition. They can use it for pretty much anything that we sell at our school. Movie night or parents' night out / bring a buddy. This helps with all 3, recruiting, retention, and revenue, because you charge and make some money from that. Lock in or bring a buddy nights help with all 3. School talk talk and permission to promote forms that help with recruiting and retention. Promotions actually help with all three. And if you're not utilizing promotions to help you recruit and retain and make revenue for your school, then you're missing out. You need to be taking advantage of that. Striking nights, spirit nights, weapons nights, different things like that. That can help also with all three. Student retention and tracking. So for us, this is kind of how it plays out. Over the period of a little over a year, basically what we're looking at here is how many of our teen adult students in judo stay longer than 1 year, how many of our BJJ students stay over a year, and how many of our junior judo students stay over a year. And we look at it this way because we require that 12-month commitment. So the vast majority of them are going to stay for 1 year unless they choose to break their contract with us or buy it out. So looking at it less than a year is really not efficient for us. But how many of them continue to train with us after they have fulfilled their initial 1 year obligation? And you can see our retention rates here are, in my opinion, pretty good. 81% with teen and adults for judo, about 83% with BJJ, and about 59% of our junior judo students stay for longer than a year. We don't track retention on our boxing, our fitness, or Iaido programs. I don't teach those programs. They're just ancillary programs. We have other instructors that teach them. We really just kind of consider those lagniappe. They certainly add to our revenue or our bottom line. They may help out with recruiting as well, but we don't track retention on those. Other sources of revenue. How else can you pay the bills and keep the lights turned on? Use a beverage cooler. Don't have a water fountain in your school. Allow students to bring water if they want to, but sell water and sell Powerade, things like that. We have a beverage cooler by the front door. We do not have a water fountain. People can bring their own bottles or jugs of water if they choose to, but that beverage cooler makes us a couple $100 a month, and that can cover our light bill or cover our water bill or whatever. So that's a good way to make extra money. Selling t-shirts, selling custom uniforms. If you want to add sparring into your program for self-defense or for sport, you can sell sparring gear. We did that for many years. We don't do it any longer, but we did it for a long time. You can offer self-defense clinics, private lessons. You may look at setting up affiliate programs where you have other people that pay you a certain amount per month to be a part of your judo affiliate program. I did this for several years. We had about 5 or 6 affiliate schools, each of them paying us $100 a month. And I helped them with things like the curriculum and promotions, and would go do seminars there and things like that. Ultimately, I just got too busy and wasn't able to keep that up. But it is a potential way you can make extra revenue, especially if you're trying to get your school to be self-sufficient, but you're not quite there yet. Promotion fees. I touched on that earlier. A lot of people don't believe in charging promotion fees, but that's a mistake. I think that you should charge promotion fees, but I do think you should keep the fees a reasonable amount, and you should not be promoting people once a month or every 6 weeks like some Taekwondo or karate schools might do. Make it a logical, reasonable amount of time, but definitely promotion fees are not a bad thing. You can make a lot of extra money. Typically, we do our promotions every 4 months, and we'll make usually an extra $1,000, $1,100, $1,200 just in promotion fees. That can come in really handy, particularly at the end of summer. Things have been a little bit slow, or like right now I'm recording this video in December. November, December are kind of slow months. We'll do promotions at the end of December. We'll make some extra money. That'll help with any shortfalls we may have had in the December revenue stream, or if not, it'll help me with advertising, for January, February coming up. Other marketing vehicles, other ways that you can go about marketing to get people into your school. You need to have a good website, and it needs to include what we call a call to action box. It needs to focus on more than just history and competition. People don't want to read about how judo started 1,000 years ago as jiu-jitsu and all the different iterations of it down through the years and all of those things. That's not what people are looking for. They want to know what are the benefits for them. Why should they do judo, or why should their children do judo? Social media these days, you cannot ignore social media. It is vitally important. If you don't understand how to use Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, you need to take the time to learn how, or you need to hire someone who can help you with that. Paper advertising is all but dead at this point. You may do a little bit with rack cards or maybe try direct mail, but really, if you're not advertising with Facebook, Instagram, Google AdWords. If you're not doing those things, then you're missing the boat. You really need to get active and get involved in that. That's where everything is at now. We do banners that we change out every month or every other month, and we're located by a very, very busy intersection, major highway, and we have a lot of traffic that drives by, and we have a space out there where we're allowed to put banners. You'll need to check your local ordinances to see if you're allowed to do that or not. You can't do that in every area, but we get a lot of people who say that they found us because they drove by and saw our banner out by the road. Rat cards are direct mail. Rat cards is things you put out like in the local restaurants, and other stores and things like that. Kind of like a nice full color, like an index card or larger size card with your monthly special or quarterly special or whatever. Direct mail, you can do that through an independent business, or even the post office on their website has something called Everyday Direct Mail. We've done it a few times. It's a little bit expensive, and we felt that in our particular market we did not get quite enough return on the investment to continue doing it, but it's something that's worth looking into. I think it's different in every area. It may be something you want to try a couple times. Maybe you have some success with it. If you have parades that take place in your area, like Christmas parades, Thanksgiving parades, things like that, you may consider having a float or a vehicle, or having your students walk in their uniforms and things like that. We've tried this a few times. We've never had a lot of success with it, but a good friend of mine about an hour and 15 minutes north of us here up in Mississippi, he's had a lot of success, particularly with Christmas parades, at giving out rat cards or handouts, and then getting a lot of people to take advantage of that and contacting him and coming in for trial classes later. So again, it's kind of like doing direct mail. It's one of those things that maybe you try it a couple times and then judge whether or not it's worth continuing to do it. Mass intro events, and we'll talk more about mass intro events here in just a little bit, but those are a good way to get a lot of people into your school at one time and make them a wonderful special offer to sign up. And these could be based on like women's self-defense, bully busters for kids, different things like that. And again, we'll talk about mass intro events some more here in just a little bit. So again, just to stress it a little further with social media, these are just some real basic numbers that give you an idea of how many people roughly are active on social media right now. And it's really staggering when you think about how many people this takes into account. Over 2 billion people a month on Facebook, and 1.5 billion on YouTube, 700 million on Instagram, and it just goes on and on. And of course, you're not targeting all of those people. Those people are not necessarily in your market, but I guarantee that even in your area, there are a lot of people that are utilizing social media. Even here where I'm located, a relatively rural area, pretty far outside of a major city, social media is extremely active. Everyone is on some form of social media. These numbers are just too large for you to ignore. If you're not currently doing social media advertising, then you definitely need to be doing that. There's just no other way about it. Let's get back to where I left off there. A little momentary mistake. Here we go. All right, so when we talk about social media, I'm going to be speaking specifically to Facebook here. It's the one that we primarily use for advertising as far as social media goes. It may be a little different for Instagram, Twitter, other things like that, but I'm going to be primarily talking about Facebook. So we need to remember that there are primarily two types of reach on Facebook, two different types of ways that you can get your message out to people. The first is reach that we pay for with advertising that we would purchase, and the other is what's known as organic reach. So a lot of people are under the mistaken assumption that if I post a lot of things on our group Facebook page, if I'm putting pictures up there and videos up there and things like that, that means a lot of people are seeing this and I'm going to get a lot of new customers. So anytime you post something to your business's Facebook page, your school's Facebook page, people that see that, people that share it, people that like it, that's what's known as organic reach. A lot of times the people that are seeing it are people that are already your students, or maybe they're your friends and colleagues that are in other areas. So it's not necessarily being seen by a lot of potential new customers or new students. What we hope is that we post things that are compelling, that people like, and that they like them enough that they share them, or they hit that like button. When they share them, then their friends are going to see it, and when they like it, then their friends are going to be notified of that. And so the reach is organic. We're not paying, but it is reaching more people. So maybe you have a current student and he shares a really cool motivational post that you put up on his Facebook page, and because of that, a friend of his sees it, and this friend is not currently a student, but it makes him become more interested, and because of that, he reaches out and wants to get information about classes. So ideally, that is how organic reach would work. You use motivational pictures and videos, and also informational articles, and people hopefully like them and share them. The more that people like your post or share your post, the more of them they will see. If you have people that like your page, but they never like or share any of the things that you put out, over time, eventually they will see less and less of your post. That's just the way that Facebook algorithms work. So organic reach, that's going to be these motivational type things you put out there, or again, informative articles. I use a particular application called Hootsuite, and what it allows me to do is sit down once a month and I schedule a whole month's worth of motivational pictures or posts, maybe 2 or 3 per week at different times. So I do that once. It takes me about 30-45 minutes to do it, for the entire month, and I'm done. There's another application called If This Then That, and you can utilize it and tie it in with Hootsuite. And these are both free, by the way. And anytime you post something to an Instagram page, it will automatically put it on your Facebook and your Twitter. So when I schedule on Hootsuite once a month, I actually schedule it to our Instagram page. And when it posts to Instagram, within a few minutes later, it also shares that on our Facebook page and on our Twitter account. So I'm kind of a force multiplier there. I'm doing the work once, but sharing it on 3 different sites. You can also use Facebook scheduling software to schedule articles, things like that you want to go out on Facebook. And you can schedule those in advance. You can pick the particular day and the particular time that you want to do it. You could also use Hootsuite for that if you wanted to, but if not, you can do these things within Facebook itself. Also on our website, we have a blog area, and we post articles there a couple times a month that are just informative articles that people will hopefully be interested in and want to read. Now, what this does is the way that Google works with their advertising, with their Google rankings, it's called, when people search for you, one of the criteria is that your website is being added to with new, fresh content. If Google's algorithms behind the scenes, if they see that your website is just sitting there and it's stale and it's not growing, there's nothing new being added to it, that's going to hurt your Google rankings a little bit. But if they see each month that new stuff is being added to your site, then that will help your Google rankings. So when people search for martial arts schools near them on Google, hopefully yours will come up on the first page. These are just some real brief examples of pictures that might work for organic reach. These are just motivational pictures, things that will appeal to different people. You want to be sure that these are not too over the top. You don't want them to be offensive to anybody, and they shouldn't all necessarily be just about competition. Some of them can be, as you can see here, but really you want it to be things that resonate with people, that hopefully get them fired up and get them motivated and want to come in and train. This is an example of maybe an article that you might post on your blog, on your Facebook page. And this is just talking about ways to avoid protein powder scams. And of course, this is just a part of the article here. But this is something that maybe someone would read and see on your Facebook page. They would click on it. They would go to read the article. And because they did that, then now they're going to see more of the things that you post. And maybe it also keeps them coming back to your page as a source for good information in the future. This is just a real quick breakdown of people by age. They're currently using Facebook, and you can see that 88% of them between the ages 18 and 29, 84% 30 to 49, and then so forth. Most social media experts these days agree that the demographic for Facebook is aging a little bit. It's getting to be more of the slightly older people, not old, but above the age of 18 to 20 or 25. But most people also still agree it's probably your best option if you're doing paid advertising or paid reach, and especially if you're wanting to get your message out to mothers. Remember that mom is usually the one who's doing the research For kids' martial arts classes, she's usually the one bringing the child in. Dad is sometimes in the picture, sometimes not, but mom is 9 times out of 10 the one who's actively involved in it. So if you want to advertise to get kids' classes growing, you want to advertise to mothers, so Facebook is a really, really good place to do that. Besides Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, probably your next best two to look at. In Facebook, there is an application called Ads Manager, and you can use this to set up and create your Facebook paid ads. It's a little in-depth. There are a lot of different things you can do. There are a lot of different metrics and different reports you can pull up. It can be a little bit daunting. I will say that there are a lot of great videos out there on YouTube and on Facebook about how to use Ads Manager. You can, of course, also hire someone or a company to do that for you. But I think that if you just are a little bit comfortable working with a computer and working, on an internet-based program, if you just give yourself time and be patient, I feel you can probably figure it out on your own. That's what I did. It's really not that difficult. But Ads Manager doesn't cost anything to use it, but you do pay for the ads that you set up, and you can pick a time period like a 1 week or 2 week or 1 month or whatever length of time you want your ad to run, and you can set a maximum budget or a daily budget, however you'd like to set it up. Again, I can't stress enough that if you're not currently doing paid advertising on Facebook and on social media, then you need to be doing that. It is just vastly, vastly important. So what I do for myself is each month I kind of have a checklist that I go through, and I pick a day once a month right before the first of the month, and I sit down in a quiet place with my computer or my phone, and I just work on our marketing for the entire upcoming month. And so yours may not be exactly the same as mine, but it is a good idea to have a list, to have a checklist, to have a punch card, so that you kind of have a system or a routine that every month you go through, because consistency is really the key when it comes to your advertising. You want to be targeting the right places, of course, but doing it consistently matters. We noticed years ago we used to be a lot more sort of in and out, up and down with our advertising. Some months we would advertise, and then maybe next month, maybe the revenue was a little bit lower, maybe the money was a little tighter, so we wouldn't advertise. Or I remember a particular time several years ago that our school just exploded. We just grew exponentially over a period of a couple of months. And I stopped advertising, but for a month or so, people just kept coming in. We kept getting calls and emails and walk-ins and things like that. And so I just thought it was okay. And so I just sat back and, you know what, I'll save this money. I won't advertise. But it only took about a month and a half, 2 months, and then it stopped. And when it stopped, it really, really stopped. I mean, completely. It dried up. We were getting no phone calls, no emails, no new leads were coming in, and it hit us pretty hard. So we really quickly learned that you need to be consistently advertising throughout the year. Doesn't mean you can't adjust your budget accordingly to the time of the year and to what your budget permits, but you need to be advertising all the time. So this is a pretty good, just a basic checklist. Again, yours could be a little different than this, but this would be a pretty good one to follow. The way that we do things at our school, and this does not mean that you have to do it, but we typically run various specials throughout the year. So typically a special is going to last anywhere from a month to 2 or 3 months. They're usually based on the season or time of the year it is. For example, the New Year special or a spring special or a summer special or a back to school special. What we usually do is run our specials so that it's a set price, and it includes... All right, sorry guys, a minor technical glitch there. So I was saying that our specials typically include a uniform and a certain length of time. Usually it's 1 month plus a uniform, and it's for a one low price, maybe $99 for first month of training and a uniform, so forth. Doesn't mean you have to do it that way, but this has been successful for us. It works real well for us. These are just some examples of some of the various specials we've ran throughout the last year or so. One thing you'll notice with these is that they are all bright colors. They're not necessarily overly serious. I mean, this guy, they're doing a pretty serious choke, and these guys are doing a big throw. But also notice this is one that was targeted specifically for adults. Notice the ones that were aiming at kids, they're kind of cartoon-like. They have some cool-looking characters and bright colors and things like that. So with your advertising, you need to remember like I said earlier in this video, that people are not necessarily looking for martial arts training for the same reasons that you got into it or the reasons you continue doing it. You really want to appeal to what they're looking for. If you're trying to get more kids in your program, then using advertising that looks fun and exciting for the kids and also for the parents, that's going to be a crucial thing. So try to steer away from ads that just show two guys, punching each other in the face and they're bloody and beat up, or one guy slamming another guy into the mat as hard as possible. Again, you can use those sometimes, and particularly if you're trying to grow an adult program or a competition-oriented program. But you do want to kind of target your advertising to meet the audience you're trying to appeal to. When we do our specials, I try to coordinate the advertising so that we have a consistent look or message. I can't always do that, but I do it as often as I can. This is a good example. This particular summer special, we had these rack cards that went out in local restaurants and businesses and also on the front desk of our school. Then we also had the same exact thing in banner form out in front of our school. And my Facebook profile picture for our business was also this image. And a modified version of this, just with a little bit less text in the middle, is what we use for our paid ad. So what I'm hoping is that some people are seeing this in multiple locations multiple times. They're seeing it multiple times over and over until eventually it resonates with them. We talked earlier just briefly about mass intro events. This is a good example of a mass intro event set that we did a while back in July. And so we had two back-to-back. We did one that was for ladies from 10 to 11:30 that morning, a self-defense seminar for ladies. That afternoon after lunch, did a bully buster seminar for kids. These were free events. We publicized them on Facebook and other social media outlets, but we also did collect information from people as they registered and as they came in and participated so we could follow up later with them. One of the things with mass intro events is it's not just about presenting the material. You want to make sure that you have a special offer of some sort to give to these people before they leave, something that encourages them to hopefully want to go ahead and sign up, hopefully that day, if at all possible, in your school. So it might be, a really super low sign up, $39.99, sign up today. That's going to cover your uniform, your first month of classes. You're not making any money at all. You're maybe barely paying for the uniform, but you get them to sign up for, a 12-month membership agreement. So you add a new student. So mass intro events are one of those things that sometimes they're very successful, sometimes they're not. You don't want to do them every weekend or every single month necessarily, but you do want to do several throughout the year and see how they work for you. And as I mentioned earlier in this video, like everything else, you do these, then you evaluate them and you decide, are they things that are worth continuing to do or not. If you do these, 3 or 4 times in a year and you don't find you're getting any students from it, then maybe these are not good options for you. But a lot of people around the country do have great success with them. We use a software called Eventbrite. It's a free web-based application to create our events, our mass intro events. It allows you to have a nice, clean-looking landing page, and it allows people to go online and get tickets. And then it collects their information and saves it in a list for you to look at, their name and an email address and so forth. Eventbrite is totally free as long as the event you're using or hosting is free. If you're going to charge for the event, then they're going to either charge you or charge the participant a small amount. And when you set your event up, you can choose whether to pay the cost yourself or if you want to pass it on to the participant. You can run these as paid ads on social media and also ask your existing students to spread the word. As I said before, have a special offer. If you can afford to give them a free gift, that would be great. If you can't, it's okay. Maybe it's a ladies self-defense seminar, so at the end you give them each a small little handheld self-defense keychain or something like that. We'll talk about leads and where our leads primarily come from. This is a real quick breakdown, January through September of 2018. Total number of contacts we had were 201. We signed up 72 of those, about a 36% sign-up rate. Based on the information we could gather, and there is certainly some margin for error here, but we think about 29% of those leads came to us from Google. About 10% Facebook, 20% were drive-by, 41% were referrals. This number for Facebook is actually probably a little bit low. I think what happens a lot of times is that people see us on Facebook or see our ad, then they go and look for us on Google and then go to our website and contact us from our website. And so if they contact us from our website, then that's how we list them. So I think that probably this is a little higher, but it still gives you a pretty good idea. Notice our referral rate is really, really high. This is a good sign that we're running a good program, we're providing a good high quality product, we have a high level of customer satisfaction. If we're getting this many leads as referrals from existing students, if you start doing some metrics and some number crunching and you find that you're not getting a lot of referrals from existing students, then you need to ask yourself why. Why are people not wanting to tell their friends about what we do here? You need to analyze that. There may be something that you need to consider changing in the way that you're running your program. So this is a big thing. A lot of people come to me either directly or through email or social media with questions about growing their judo program, and I always try to help them. But if you're wanting to grow your school, then it's really important that you're also growing your instructor base. You need to have an infrastructure in place, people that are helping you to teach classes, because you just hopefully will grow to the point where you can't handle it on your own. I could not handle our school as it is now by myself. I'm a pretty good teacher. I'm very effective with my mat management, but it's just too many people. There is no way that I could effectively teach that many students and look out for them and give them the time that they need in every single class. So many years ago, we started actively training instructors. And so that's something that you need to develop. And training someone as an instructor, that does not necessarily mean for hardcore competition. Just because someone can fight, because they can compete, does not mean they can teach. There's a lot of cases of people that are great competitors that are terrible teachers. So you need to be identifying people in your school, and this could even be your teenagers, that seem to have the right attitude and the right temperament and that show an interest, and get them involved as assistant instructors, do some regular training with them, host some coach education seminars, bring in guest instructors, not necessarily again on competition or pure technique, but more on how to teach people, how to be safe, how to work with kids, how to work with adult students, just different things like that. You got to actively prepare for growth. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you're going to add students, but you don't have the infrastructure to properly take care of them, so you're going to lose them. Then you're going to add students and you're going to lose them. And you're going to add students, you're going to lose them. And you get stuck in this kind of loop there and you just can't break out of it. So definitely remember, it's not about just competition. You need to be helping people become better instructors, and you yourself need to become a better instructor. Look at what areas you might need improvement in. Be honest with yourself. Do a good, honest self-assessment, and look to our JBBA Coach Education Program. Find someone or more than one person who specialize in those areas that you are not as strong in, and get those people to your place for a seminar, or find out where they're hosting a seminar and go attend it, or have them do a web-based seminar for you. But you need to be improving, not just as a technician, not just as a competitor, but as an instructor as well. I've been scuba diving now probably almost 20 years. I don't get to go as often as I would like, but one of the things that they tell you in your first scuba diving course you're taking, just to get your basic certification as a scuba diver, it's a very popular saying. It's plan your dive and dive your plan. And basically that means that you don't want to go out in the water on a boat and jump off into the water and have no idea what you're doing, what your plan is. You want to know how deep the water is there. You want to know how deep you and your buddy plan to dive. How long do you plan to stay down on that dive? Do you need to do a safety stop at a certain depth, and for how long, and things like that, because it's life and death. It's really important. So it's not necessarily life and death that you plan the activities for your school, but it could be the life and death of your program or of your school that could certainly have an impact on that. And so this is an example that my wife and I, we sit down every year, every December during the holiday break, and we plan out our entire upcoming year. So this is a good overview of 2018 for the various activities that we had going on. Now, there are going to be little things that come up along the way that aren't foreseen, seminars or tournaments, things like that. But we really try hard to minimize that. We try hard to have everything in place and know what we have to do. And we try to stagger things. So if you notice, we have a Junior Judo game night here in January. That's a recruiting tool. It's also a revenue and retention tool. We talked about that earlier. So, we won't do another one of those for a few months. We wouldn't want to necessarily do one of those every single month. It's going to wear the kids out. It's going to wear the parents out. So we want to stagger those. We try to have it so that every couple of months we have some type of event or something that's helping us to raise a little additional revenue. For example, here you'll notice that we did a custom uniform order and an in-house tournament here in March. So those are both revenue generating events. They help us make a little extra money. Notice we're closed here. Here's our tournament. And then here at the end of this month, we have our promotions for our juniors. And again, we talked about earlier, this is all three of the R's, recruiting, retention, and revenue are all covered by this. We had Freestyle Judo Nationals here, and then so forth and so on. So it's just a good idea. You want to have a plan. Your plan needs to kind of make sense. Of course, you can always change the plan as necessary, but you want to have a plan. If you're not planning at least a month ahead with advertising at least, and if you're not planning out your year's worth of activities, then you're going to always be kind of floundering around, and you're going to be reacting, and you don't want to be reacting. You want to be proactive. You need to have systems in place for things like lead follow-up and tracking. This is super, super important. My wife has a spreadsheet that we utilize. There are certainly other methods you could use. We use a spreadsheet in Excel, and we track every single lead that we get, and then she tracks them. I do the contact. I call or email them. I do the follow-ups, and we make notes accordingly, and we track that information. So that way we aren't relying just on my memory or her memory to know who called us last week and whether they came in or not and what step we are in the sign-up process with them. You need to track your students' attendance and their promotions. We talked about this earlier. It's really important to have a systematic approach to your promotion system for kids and for adults. Now, this is a sticky area for people, I understand. I am telling you that if you want to have a successful, large commercial program, you need to have a system for this. It cannot be based simply on the competition success of your competitors. It cannot be based simply on who is the most athletic and the toughest and who wins all their randori. Now, if you want to utilize that as part of the criteria, competition success and randori skills, certainly you can factor those in, but there has to be more to it than that. Most of your students in a large program are not coming to you for that, and so you need to take into account things like their attendance and their technical ability, their contributions to your school and to judo as a whole. So you need to be keeping track of this stuff and promoting your students in a fair and even manner across the board. You need to be tracking invoices and payments to make sure that everybody is paying like they're supposed to. Even though we utilize an automatic system every single month, there are at least a couple of people whose payments don't go through. The checking account, maybe there wasn't enough money, so it's NSF. Maybe they've changed accounts and forgot to tell us. And so my wife tracks this with a report she gets from our company. And then if we have people that haven't paid or their payment didn't go through, then we have to reach out to them and make sure that we get paid. You need to make sure that you're making the money to pay your overhead and grow your business. And this last one here is kind of a bit of a joke, an inside joke between my wife and I. I have a Patty. My wife's name is Patty. Basically, that just means that if you're someone like me who is not necessarily a detail-oriented person, that is not my specialty. My specialty is not the desk application as far as the tracking and sitting there for a couple of hours and making sure all the records are up to date. That's not something I'm good at, but my wife is a master at it. And so she handles most of that side of the business, whereas I handle more of the curriculum and the person-to-person interactions as far as the leads and the sign-ups and things like that. Certainly she can do those things, and certainly I can do the things that she does, but we recognize each other's strengths and weaknesses. So if you don't have a partner or spouse like I do who can do these things, if you're not good at them, you need to find someone that is, and that may be someone that you pay to help with it. But don't feel like it always has to be just you, because if your school starts growing, then very rapidly it's going to become more than just one person can handle. Just final thoughts. Be professional. It's really important. This is not the 1950s or 60s or 70s we're living in. People that are looking for martial arts classes, particularly moms or families, they are not looking to walk into mixed gym from the Rocky movies. They want to walk into a clean, professional environment with good equipment, air conditioning and heat, a nice mat surface, and you want to learn to conduct yourself in a professional manner. Get in shape and work hard to stay that way. We all get older. It's harder to do, but you owe it to yourself and you owe it to your school and your students to maintain yourself at least to a minimum level. You need to look the part, be neat, be well groomed, wear a nice uniform. Maybe your favorite uniform is 20 years old and it's your favorite because you won a medal at senior nationals 20 years ago and that's what you wear all the time, but that thing stinks and it's falling apart. man, it's time to hang that thing up. You know, you can frame it or something like that and keep it around. But when you're in your school, you're the product. You know, people need to look at you and they need to aspire to be more like you. And so part of that is looking the part. I like to think of myself that, I mean, I want to walk in my school, I want to look like a superhero. You know, I want to be clean cut, I want to be in shape, my uniform's going to look good. I'm going to be doing the best I can to set a good example that I want my students, particularly my younger students, to try to attain. Maintain a high level of cleanliness in your school, guys. This is huge. Again, particularly if you want to appeal to mothers who are going to bring their kids into you. Mom does not want to walk into a place that stinks. She wants a clean environment, a clean ladies' restroom with paper towels and toilet paper and things like that. You need to take care of that. If your place is dirty and smelly and the place up the road is clean and well maintained, mom is going to go to the place that's clean and well maintained. I hate to tell you, but it's just the truth. You need to be comfortable talking to people. This is tough for some people. Not everyone is good at public speaking. Not everyone is good at talking on the phone or talking in person. You need to practice this skill if you're not good at it. There are groups like Toastmasters and other things like that in different areas that you can join where you have opportunities to speak and have conversations. Just make it a point, if nothing else. Look for some YouTube videos, look for some online courses, or go take an enrichment class at your local community college on public speaking. But you need to be very comfortable talking to people. You need to be able to speak to people on the phone and in person without stumbling over your words and without repeating yourself too many times and without boring them to death. So you got to work on that. Lastly, just remember, this is an old saying I heard many years ago and it really stuck with me. Remember that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Don't think that people are going to come sign up with you just because you do judo. Most people have no idea what judo is. You may get a few people who come to you specifically looking for judo for various reasons. They did it in college, or they're a BJJ player and they know what judo is and they want to get better at throws and takedowns. But that's going to be the minority of people. Most people that contact you are looking for martial arts. They don't know the difference in karate, judo, and BJJ for the most part. What they're looking for is why you do it. Is it fitness? Is it self-defense? Is it character development? Things like that, respect, discipline. So you need to keep that in mind with everything you do, with your advertising and with the way that you present yourself and your school. That's what most people are looking for. Now, obviously, if you're trying to build a fighter's gym, if your goal is to build a school that is full of competitive fighters, grapplers and UFC, MMA type fighters, then that's what you need to appeal to. But you're probably not going to have really big successful kids programs and lots of ladies training and things like that. So you need to decide what it is you want to do, what your goal is, what kind of school you want to run, and then advertise and conduct yourself and your business accordingly. All right, that's about it for this presentation. Again, this is one that we did at JudoCon a couple months ago. We had to rush through it quite a bit, so I wanted just to go back through and try to hit some more details on some different pages. So I'm going to get this out there on our YouTube site and our Facebook page and everything. If you watch this and you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'll do the best I can to help you out. Also, be sure you're checking out our JBBA Coach Education Program. If you want to look at scheduling either an on-site seminar or web-based seminar, live, like a two-way video seminar with me. I'm a specialist in professional judo management and growth of schools and things like that. Then that's something we can talk about. But I hope you find some of this information useful, and I hope you guys get your programs growing. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.